Well, let's begin the conversation now with Joann Ariola, who's a member of the New York City Council and joins us now. Welcome back. What's your kind of take? As I said at the top of the broadcast today, a lot of people have been discussing and debating this case now for more than a year. How do you see it?
We've really been watching this case from day one, and there are a lot of different emotions from a lot of different people. But in the end, it is my opinion that Daniel Penny is a hero. Daniel Penny saved lives that day. Jordan Neely was under the influence of K2. He had 42 prior arrests for assault. He suffered from severe mental illness that went untreated. There were many, as was just stated, many people who were in that subway car that felt in imminent danger. Daniel Penny is a Marine. He is trained to protect, and that's what he did.
You used the word hero. The defense in their close used the term scapegoat at one point. I'll put it up on the screen that the government, the defense lawyer said, is scapegoating this man here. He's the only guy who was brave enough to stand up when he was needed. The government wasn't there. The police weren't there. The people needed help. Danny was, and when he was the only one who needed help, no one was there. That from the Penny defense attorney. Do you think this case raises other issues, though, in the city that are not being dealt with and should be?
I think that we should be dealing with people with mental illness, and we're not doing that. We're not doing a good job. And he is not a vigilante. He was a person who was just riding the train that day. He had no intention of encountering anyone. This situation was thrust upon him. He reacted. He is a hero. As I said earlier, Mr. Neely had a rap sheet, 42 prior arrests. Daniel Penny is a decorated Marine. This is something that we have to really take into consideration. I am so happy that the jurors sent a note because it tells me that they're taking their deliberation very seriously. Yes, a life was lost. Yes, a family is mourning that life, but there is a life on the line and freedom on the line of someone who stood up to protect fellow citizens and could pay the price for that with his own freedom. So I'm very happy that the note came out because clarification is something that tells me they're taking this very seriously.
Well, I think so, that they're taking it seriously and maybe considering the defense's arguments, whether they go in that direction with acquittals, a different question altogether. But it is interesting. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. What do you say to people, though, who basically agree with you and others up to a point and say, yeah, Daniel Penny was a hero. He stepped in. Nobody else was there. But it went on too long. I mean, that's what the prosecution said, and we'll put it up, that the 6-minute chokehold is what killed this guy. And common sense tells you, the prosecutor says, that he died as a result of that chokehold. The fact that Mr. Neely didn't revive and died must mean that the defendant was applying sufficient pressure to kill him during those 51 seconds, essentially arguing, you mentioned his training, that he should have known better because he was trained.
When you're in a situation where adrenaline is rushing and you know that you have to protect over 40 other people that are in a car, really, are you aware of the time? Are you aware of whether it's 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes? What you're doing is you're protecting others. And that's what Daniel Penny is trained to do. And when you're in a situation like that, time kind of stands still. And I don't think that he was looking at his watch and saying, okay, it's 6 minutes. I should really release the hold, or whether or not, Jordan Neely had passed out from the K2 that he was on, or any of his comorbidities that he had with disease. But Daniel Penny stepped up to where no one else would, and he protected women with their children, young people who were on that train, seniors that were on that train, and he's been made to fight for his rights for over a year and explain himself, and that should never be.
Okay, one more question for you then, Joann. You're in city government here in New York. What do we need to do to make people feel more safe on these subway cars?
We need to, number one, have more police officers on our platforms. And, we have to get more police classes out there. And it's very difficult to get people to go into the classes because the police themselves are unprotected, especially since qualified immunity was taken away. A lot of the laws that were done on the state and city level have compromised law enforcement and tied their hands, and therefore no one's going into that particular line. But we also need to address mental illness. We talk about it ad nauseum and do nothing about it.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.